Venerable bhikkhus, brothers and sisters, the subject of the discourse today is consciousness is dukkha, suffering. Consciousness is the cause of suffering. Cessation of consciousness is cessation of suffering. And the path leading to the cessation of suffering is the path leading to the cessation of consciousness. You are aware, having learned Dhamma up to now, that the formations or activities committed by the six sense bases are by creation of thoughts. In the creation of a thought, you are aware, though the sense base and the object that had attracted the sense base get together, the third party that appears is the consciousness. And from there onwards, the entire operation in the way of seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting or contacting or thinking, the six functions performed by the six sense bases are all done as a result of a thought created by the consciousness. It is the thought created in you that you are able to see. It is as a result of a thought created in you that you are able to hear. It is a result of a thought created in you that you are able to smell. It is a thought created in you that you are able to taste things. It is a thought created in you that you are able to contact things. It is a thought created in you that you are able to think. So all these six activities are performed as a result of a thought created by the consciousness. Suffering, Buddha refers to as physical and mental, subjected to a whirling, and as a result of incidents occurring to him. He of course gives specific instances of suffering such as birth, such as reaching old age, subject to sicknesses, death, parting from loved ones, mixing with people whom you do not like, and also not being able to possess what you wish to possess. These are specific instances he gives as occasions for one to suffer. But he summarizes all these sufferings which a worldling is subjected to by saying the five grasping groups is suffering. In the discourse I delivered to you yesterday, I clearly explained to you what the five grasping groups are, and also the result of their activity in your mind. Worldling is under the impression that there is a being in him, and it is this being who is responsible for all these activities. According to Buddhism, there is no such being in us. All our activities are the result of cause and effect. There is no one as such as an authority who owns the authorship of any of those activities. They are performed as a result of cause and effect. But the mind has created delusion in you. While creating the thought for you to experience the object that has appeared before the sense base or has contacted the sense base, you made to believe that it is a being who is performing the act of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, contacting, thinking, whatever it may be. This is created in the very thought that you have created to experience the sense-based activity. And when you experience the sense-based activity, in that experience, the delusion created in you is that there is, so to say, an author to your experience in that activity. And this delusion is created by the five grasping groups, which are grasping group of form, grasping group of feeling, grasping group of perception, grasping group of volition, and consciousness. The very mental factors which are produced by the consciousness, they play a different part while creating the thought to create this delusion in you. It's not two separate acts as such. The very thought that enables you to hear, smell, see, taste, and perform the other activities of the sense bases, in that very thought itself there is this delusion created. And the delusion, for the creation of the delusion, the mental factors that help you to create the thought have participated. Therefore, it is the consciousness that makes you to feel that there is a being in you. According to Buddhism, there is no being as such in any one of us. There is the activity of the cause and effect. But we are made to believe, subject ourselves to unnecessary suffering, always under wrong impression created in us. And that impression is that there is somebody in authority who is subject to this suffering within you. Consciousness is a mental force created for the continuity of the world. We are making use of it to develop ourselves to states when we can realize something in depth much more than the consciousness can display. But it is this consciousness that has created this situation for us. We are now subject to constant suffering, always thinking that it is this so-called being within me, who is the author of all our activities, that is subject to this suffering. In other words, when we look at a worldling, in the Dhamma we have to admit that there is no person in him, except that there is a mind and matter. And this mind and matter causally commit activities. But this consciousness has created a delusion in you to always feel that causally created activities are not the result of cause and effect, but as a result of some author committing those acts. And that impression is so well planted in your mind that you are deluded, that you are misled, and you live in this delusion, always thinking about this person who is in you as the author of your very existence. Therefore, consciousness is the source of this creation. And that is why we say that consciousness is suffering, because the delusion of a being created in you is done by the consciousness in the very act of seeing as a result of a thought created by the consciousness. The ingredient that created the thought also becomes the ingredient that creates the delusion in you as a being present in you. So it is very clear now, it is the consciousness that has created this situation. And you suffer as a result of that. Therefore, consciousness is suffering, because consciousness has created this delusion in you and made to believe that there is a person within you as a thought subject to this suffering. And it is done by the consciousness, therefore consciousness is suffering. Let's go to the other one. Consciousness is also the cause of suffering. You are aware that the instantaneous or spontaneous activity of the mind in the way of creation of a thought, when a sense object appears or attracts a sense base, that thought enables you to experience that sense object. That is a spontaneous act of the consciousness. When we went into detail as to how a thought is created, I explained to you that the consciousness appears at the base or contacts the base as a third party. The first being the object is reflected in the contrivance adopted in the sense base where such object can be received. And it is this reception that becomes the first incident that occurs. After that reception by the sense base, then the consciousness appears or contacts the sense base as the third party. From there onwards, it is the five mental factors that create the thought directed by the consciousness that helps you to experience the object. That is the task the consciousness has to perform in enabling you to experience something through a sense base. But it goes further than that. It has created the being in you already, in the thought you created in your mind to experience the sense activity. And you are now under the impression, the false impression, the delusion created by the consciousness that there is somebody in authority for that act. Mental factor feeling always gives you the impression whether that object that has confronted your mental, your sense base is something to your liking or not to your liking. That is not pursued further than that. It's only an impression is given to you whether you like it or not like it. The delusion created in your mind, the nature of a person living in you, or being living in you, he becomes the author of the activity of the sense base in the way of hearing, smelling, tasting things. And what he heard or what he saw or what he smelled was to his satisfaction. This being naturally goes all out to enjoy that to his satisfaction. And if it is something that has created an impression in you, in this being, that it is not to his liking, he also creates a distaste for it, an aversion to it. This subsequent action is actually committed as a result of the false impression created in your mind that there is a being as the author of that activity. Therefore, he goes further than the mere creation of a thought to experience the sense-based activity in trying to create more thoughts and pursue what is good and enjoy it, or pursue what is not to his taste to create a distaste for it. These are the two things, attachment and aversion, that promote desire.